Well, greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well, and welcome to today's early morning, middle of the night bonus upload. Before we jump into it, a couple quick links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch is displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support this channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click that like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads that I put out daily, click the bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment and share the video. Why? Well, because all these things really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. They definitely do matter, and they are appreciated. And with that, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to this early morning, middle of the night bonus upload, shall we? Today's first encounter. I grew up in a small western Massachusetts town of Adams, just below the Berkshires. It was July 4th, 2017. I had worked in a cafe in town, and I had to be at work during the holiday. My shift ended around 5 o'clock, and I had plans to go to the Bellevue Cemetery with friends for some peace and quiet. I was tired of all the noise from the day and was not interested in fireworks that evening. I met up with everyone outside of my house, and we picked up some fast food before leaving. There were about 5 of us, and we all started walking down to the cemetery, eating and chatting as we made our way. The cemetery isn't huge, but it's big enough that we can find a quiet place to sit and hang out for a bit. After we got there, we all settled under a tree and relaxed and just listened while everyone else was talking. I was still reeling from work and how busy the day had been. That's when I noticed something moving in the distance behind a few mausoleums. It was dark, and I could only make out a silhouette. I couldn't tell what it was that I was looking at and figured an animal had come down from the mountain and wandered into town after smelling all the barbecue. Then I saw whatever it was sprint from behind one of the mausoleums to the next. It was way too big to be a wolf or a mountain lion, but too fast to be a large bear. It startled me for a minute. I couldn't imagine any animal I could think of being out in the light like this. It kind of made me nervous. My friends noticed a change in my look of my face and asked me what was wrong. I didn't want to say I saw a large, scary shadow running around the cemetery. I thought they'd make fun of me, so I shrugged it off and said nothing. But I couldn't stop thinking about what I had seen. Right then, I saw the figure again. It sprinted back further into the cemetery, this time behind the gravestones and then behind a tree. My curiosity got the best of me at this point, and I played it off like I needed a walk. I headed in the direction of the shadow. When I saw it take off again, I noticed it had an unbelievably large head. I couldn't tell how tall it was, but I knew it was bigger than any of us, and the quick glance that I got reminded me of a man completely covered in fur. I just thought that my mind was playing tricks on me, but I was still curious. I approached the mausoleum that it had been hiding behind. I looked down to be sure not to trip and froze. There in the dirt was an enormous footprint the size of my forearm and complete with claws right in the soil. I started to panic, a little puzzled by something I didn't yet understand. I'd never heard of a creature with a footprint so big in my entire life. I proceeded with caution towards the tree that it had ducked behind. I just needed to know if I was crazy or if I was in actual danger. I got to the tree and found nothing behind it. No one was crouching or hiding from us. That's when a cluster of leaves fell from the tree above me and hit me on their way down. I heard some loud rustling. Now, there was no breeze this day. I slowly lifted my head to look up. There, glaring down at me, was a hideous dog creature with eyes shaped like a human's, but ember-colored and terrifyingly piercing. This dog-like creature was as long as the branch it was lying on as it slowly started to growl. I ran back to my friends and told them what I had seen, that we needed to go. They protested at first, but then one of them caught a glimpse of the creature jumping down from the tree. She didn't get a good look at it, only a shadow, and all she could tell was that this thing was huge. We all grabbed our things and made our way out of that cemetery. The friend that had seen the shadow asked me what it was. I played it off, saying I didn't see a shadow, only signs of coyotes circling around, and felt scared. I didn't describe the dog creature at all or even acknowledge it. I no longer live in that area anymore, and I haven't heard of any encounters with a dog creature since my encounter. Maybe it went into the mountains and just stayed there. Now, interestingly enough, about 2 years ago, there was a teacher from just below me, about an hour south of my home, that she had gone to an area close to this in Adams, Berkshire County, and disappeared. I had covered the disappearance, talked a little bit about it because there was some strange stuff that went on around that area for a little while. People had been seeing stuff like that, similar to that. Also, the FBI had been there, which was strange in its own sense. Now, about a year later, they ended up finding her body. And it wasn't all pieced together, lying, like she had fallen or something, and they still have not given us a cause of death yet, which is tragic in itself because she was a well-liked young teacher, and she could have been a victim of a Dogman attack. Who knows? I don't know. I wasn't there, but I know it's a lot of strange circumstances surrounding it. All right, so I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's real or not. I wasn't there. I'm not going to claim that it was real. All I know is it's a little freaky. And the way it's moving, I don't know, it kind of strikes me as odd. I know that the person that filmed it, he goes out in the Middle East somewhere. Once again, I'm not sure what country. I'm not even going to proclaim that I know. I know that it's the Middle East somewhere. And he goes to like these abandoned ruins. And every once in a while, he does catch some pretty strange stuff. Could it be a hoax for views? Yeah, it could be. But it's definitely creepy. And I wanted to share that with you. Let's get into tonight's second encounter. I was driving west on Morgan Run Road near Lubbock Lane in Monongahela County, West Virginia. This is close to Cheat Lake. It happened June 8th, 2016, 7:30 p.m. I was on my way back to my friend's house, or from my friend's house. After I drove past Lubbock Lane, I noticed a tall figure move out and then back into the trees. I wasn't driving fast, so I got a pretty good look, though it was still hard for me to believe what I saw. It turned back and looked at me, and I swear it was a wolf standing on its hind legs. The head was huge, with dark, long hair. The body was almost like that of a powerful man, but it still had the characteristics of a wolf. I didn't get a good look at its legs, but they were definitely shaped like a wolf's. Very muscular arms with human-like hands that ended in long claws. When it looked at me in its eyes, they seemed to twinkle or shine as its head moved. The face was that of a wolf's face, same snout and ears, with a thick neck. I believe it had something in its right hand, but its body blocked that from my view. It just looked at me for a few seconds, took a few steps into the brush, and that's all I saw. I found some sightings reported on Google. I didn't notice any in West Virginia, but near Pennsylvania. Anyway, I just figured I'd share this with you. I haven't told anyone. The creature looked evil. I'm not sure I should have even reported this. But it was interesting. Well, I think reporting them is important, not only for others, but for the person who experienced it. I know that prior to starting my channel, I would occasionally think about my experience like I was crazy almost, Did I really see what I saw? And then I started it and started to really put forth a lot of effort into researching these things. Not just sharing encounters, but actually really looking into, certain characteristics of what we see, certain movements that they may make, geographic differences and stuff like that, and then attacks. And then the attacks seem to be my forte for some reason. And then I started to, then I had the privilege to become acquainted with Dark Waters, and James and I then became very quick friends. And I've learned that, by sharing these experiences, the person that's had the encounter not only feels better, but they almost grow a little bit. So I do think that person will, not feel so, I shouldn't have shared this after, but time can only heal, right? Today's second video clip is one that we've seen bits and pieces of this clip, but it's not the same clips that we've seen. It's actually different footage. And it's strange, They claim that it's a baby Dogman. I've got 2 clips that I've shared here, but this one's different. It's the same kind of creature, but I want you guys to tell me what you think, because to me, it almost looks like it's wearing a shirt and a kind of mask. And almost its movements just don't seem right to me. And I almost want to say this is a hoax, like one of those TikTok, let's get as many views as we can, you know, what's going on. And it's really just tearing this community apart because people want the truth and people just want proof, you know? And it's almost like people will accept anything as long as someone says, hey, this is true, this is real. You know, just that little bit of backing and people are, woo, right on it, you know, like the stupid AI videos. And it's not the folks' fault that believes it. It's the people that are putting it out. It's their fault. Anyway, I don't believe this is a real Dogman pup. It looks, when it actually runs up the hill and it does this, watch its back leg as it steps up on the hill. It's probably the last 3 seconds of the video clip. The video clip's about 57 seconds long. And when it steps up, its back leg does something strange. And I kept thinking if a young child would do that movement with its leg. And I'm not sure, but it looks like it's wearing a brown button-up shirt too. Check it out. Tell me what you think. And we'll get back into some more encounters after this. So, I don't know. I'm smiling because my view of that is not so much. I know that when I had talked about it and I didn't really make fun of it. Yeah, I did. I got an email from somebody telling me that it's 100% real and, you know, this and that. And they've been researching these cryptids, these creatures for about 4 years now, and pretty much telling me that they're an expert. And I simply said, you know, I'm sorry, I don't feel like that is a real video clip. I said, and I've been researching these things for almost 30 years, looking into them, reading about the paranormal. I know people that have been researching them for 60 years and don't consider themselves an expert. I said, so if you're an expert, you've got us. You're on top of, you know, me, Kuhnbo, Jim, James, Dark Waters. You know, it just, I don't know. And they're the same people that told me I was wrong about the video game Dogman video that I actually proved was from a video game. I actually gave you guys the name of the video game. And anyway, just some funny stuff. Just, you know, it takes all kinds, I guess. And I don't blame this person for thinking that. You know what I do blame? I blame TikTok. I blame those people that are out there trying to trick us. And here's something that I've been thinking about lately. Is it random people like us that are starting these, there's a YouTube channel that shares these video clips, and you don't see the person at all. I'm almost wondering if they're a plant by the government. There are some channels like that, NV or whatever, and I appreciate what they do. That's a channel I do appreciate, because they don't say, hey, this is 100% real, yada, yada. I don't think they're a plant. I think they're just plus their channel crashed at one time and it vanished, came back, and that was weird. I think the government kind of told them to, quit it or whatever. I think something bad happened, and I did make a video about it. But I do think there's plants that are used to trick the community and cause inner strife, Anyway, on to the next encounter. This happened in western Pennsylvania in Crescent Mountain in 1965. I was exploring the woods with a friend who lived in the area. We had crossed a stream at the bottom of a ravine and went up the hill. Maybe a mile upslope in the trees, we came to a dome made of interlaced branches. It was tall enough for me to enter without bending over. I did so. It stank horribly. Inside, we found fresh timothy grass laid out on kind of a pallet or bed at one end. There was no debris of humankind anywhere, but there were small bones and sticks. We couldn't stand the odor and backed out, then felt like we were being watched from upslope. Growing nervous as dusk fell, we left and fast. We told his dad about it, who dismissed it as a hobo's hutch. We found many of those. It was not a person who made what we found, though. We'd glimpsed a shadow moving, and maybe a glint of eyes as well. Reflective eyes can be down to something as simple as a lurker wearing glasses, we were told, but this felt more animal than hobo to us. One foggy Saturday morning, I was again visiting my friend, and we preferred roaming the woods to wandering the town where I lived. We were sprawled on the floor watching an old horror movie neither of us understood. I believe it was Dementia 13, which seemed incoherent. It did feature a good many spooky images and a couple jump scares, so it held our interest, especially with the fog that day. We heard a thump at the front door. Glancing across the living room, we saw a dog's face gazing at us through the middle of the 3 narrow windows set high in the door. It would have had to have been 6 to 7 feet tall to peer through those windows. Its gaze shined. We both screamed, thinking, werewolf. As we gaped, it dropped down to below the door's windows. Nervously, we peered out the picture window that took up most of one wall in the room. In the fog, we saw it again, moving past, just far enough away to be a little more than a shadow. This thing was upright. It sort of hop-walked on its hind legs, with its forelegs held out in front. This sight scared us even more. When it had vanished, heading down toward the tree line, we talked about whether the thing we had just seen could be what had made that domed nest we had found not too long back. At the time, this seemed reasonable to us. We knew enough not to tell his parents about this huge dog thing looking through the windows. We didn't want to be ridiculed again, but we did learn to be more careful while playing in the woods. Years later, I learned about the Ohio grassman, a Sasquatch analog for the area. Where we fell within its range, later still western PA began experiencing a cluster of what people call dogmen. Supposedly, it's pretty much what my friend and I had seen as kids peering through his front door and moving past his house as it went towards the trees. I'm glad we didn't encounter this thing directly either time, but kind of wish we had seen it more clearly before it moved away. It still gives me chills thinking about it, being out in the mountain at dusk with something like that, or what would have happened had it gotten through the door. Wow. An old encounter. What's that? 50 years old? 60 years old? 60 years old? 65. 60-year-old encounter. See, a lot of these encounters that we are coming across, some are new, but with the internet and stuff, we're getting a lot of older encounters. People are learning to share. People who've had encounters that aren't interested in the field or are interested but kind of closed off about it are now starting to realize that there's support groups, channels like mine and other channels and other researchers who are willing to talk and not ridicule them. And I think we're going to start hearing more and more of these accounts like that, as well as newer ones. But, you know, it's nothing new. Anyway, this next video clip was actually shared on YouTube 9 years ago by a person who has very little subscribers. He's not into cryptids. He just caught this on trail cam, or not trail cam, video cam. I don't know exactly what it was he caught it on, but this is, like I said, 9 years ago. There's a channel out there, or whatever it is, claiming that this was theirs, but I actually found the original video from 9 years ago and reached out to the guy and said, "Hey, can I use this?" And he said, "Yeah." I did let him know. I'm like, "Listen, I'm not going to claim this is mine. You know, do you want me to share your channel?" He's not even into YouTube. He just made a channel to pop things up back in the day, 9 years ago. So this is the actual original clip, and it's pretty darn interesting, if you ask me. I'm not real sure. He said that it really was a Dogman. Man, it does look cool at the end, though. Check it out. Very interesting video clip. I'm not going to say, because once again, I don't know. But all I know is it's interesting. And it's 9 years old. It came to YouTube at a time before Dogman was even popular. You know? Actually, to prove my point on that, I will put the link to the channel so you guys can actually see that I'm not BSing you like other do. It's a 9-year-old video with no kind of attachments. No, this came from rural Tennessee or wherever the people claim that it came from. You know, it's anyway. And I don't do that to make waves. I do it to be honest. And sometimes being honest and being like the way I am gets backlash from me. But I guess I'm going to continue to do what I do because that's the best way I know how. Tonight's last encounter. I live in Kentucky. It's very backwards and rural here. Although I've lived here for a year, I'm still not used to the extreme amount of woods and isolated areas. Coming from the beaches in Florida, things are very different here, and it's still taking me a while to adapt to my surroundings. I live in my parents' house in the rural area. Although it's next to a highway, it's not necessarily the most populated. 2 gas stations and a dollar store. That's it for 20 minutes in all directions. Decently populated. Decently rural area. Anyway, we live on an acre of land. About 30 yards behind our house is a large 150-acre farm belonging to a farmer. Keep in mind, we've never seen this guy before, but he does plant crops. Anyway, enough of the basic info. For a year, we've lived up here, and it's been a lot of weird stuff going on. To name a few things, there's been a few times I've seen some ghosts, I've heard random noises, and although aliens may not be considered paranormal, I swear to you, I've heard high-frequency noises and seen lights in the sky. We do live around 30 miles from Fort Knox, so could be military stuff, perhaps. Now, this is where the road takes a deep turn. I, as well as my family, have noticed that none of our surrounding neighbors, about 6 of them, is out past 9 o'clock at night. Now, I can understand that, but I mean, there are always at least a few people up and about during the night where I come from. But there's not even a single late-night party or anything. Nothing at all. These people don't come out at night, although I thought that was odd at first. I didn't pay much attention until recently. A few friends and I would occasionally get together and go out at around 1 in the morning on the back porch and smoke a joint and stargaze. Each time we would do that, the field 100 feet away would start rustling with noise, as if someone was running through the underbrush. My friends and I, higher than kites, would normally laugh it off, but that was only when we heard a shrieking noise from the area. Needless to say, we haven't done that ever since. That's about a month ago. Ever since then, that has mentally messed me up. I constantly worried that there's some type of wolf or something lurking about at night. And that was my assumption up until a couple nights ago. A couple nights ago, I was outside at 11:18 on the spot. We have a compost bin, so after cleaning up the kitchen, I took the scraps out. It was very dark and peaceful. I should mention now that we have a steel fence around our acred property with a compost at the far end of the property next to the fence line. The fence also has a gate on it that opens into the farmer's field. Anyway, as I made my way to the compost, a huge unnerving feeling erupted from around me. I felt like I was being watched or stalked. It was dark, and I couldn't see a thing. I only had enough visible light from our outside porch light. I dumped the scraps of food into the compost and heard the exact same rustling in the underbrush. I got ballsy. I had a feeling that there was some jackass teen or someone else trying to scare me. I stood there for a couple of seconds in the direction of the noise. Here's where I start to panic. I took my phone out and shook it twice to turn on the flashlight, shined it in the direction of the noise. Nothing really to see but brush and soybeans, but something odd caught my eye. A reflection. I stood confused for a second and shined my light back over to where the reflection was. And, holy shit, there was something there, maybe 4 feet tall, crouched in the soybeans. It was looking right at me with these red eyes. I can't make this up. I had tears in my own eyes sharing this right now. I'm not quite sure how I acted. I know I ran inside as fast as I could, even though my asthma is horrible. That's the fastest I've ever run. Needless to say, I came into the house, locked the door, ran downstairs to the basement. My room has no windows, both a blessing and a curse, but there is no way in hell that monstrosity is coming into my room. I passed the hell out, woke up at around 7. missed dinner and everything else, but I immediately went outside to that same spot and nothing was there. I even walked into the field to see if maybe if maybe what I saw were red berries or something. It sounded like a frickin' Muppet. After walking back to the house, the next door neighbor was out. I immediately called out to him. He came over. I asked him if he's ever seen anything abnormal out there, to which his reply was, "Everyone I know, including myself, goes inside before nightfall. There's tales of hellcats and night crawlers around here." And with that, he put his grill in and went inside. I didn't sleep much that night. Mainly, I was talking to my friends about this, and since most of them live near Elizabethtown, about 25 minutes away, they have no idea what it was either. Anyway, I'm lost for words at this point. I don't know what the hell to do. It could be an animal, but that thing looked nothing like an animal I'd ever seen. I'm debating on going outside with a high-beamed flashlight and scanning the area, but to be honest, I may shit myself. And there you have it, folks. I hope you all enjoyed this early morning, middle of the night bonus upload as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I'd like to thank you all for supporting the channel. It is, after all, your support that helps the channel to continue to grow and go, and what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free. Everyone is simply treated with the respect that we deserve. Stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and friends. These creatures are real. These events have happened. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for the truth, and God bless you all.